Hello, everybody. Yes, you've found the right video. This is rumors of a DC Marvelous production in the works. This is super secret. Um, just wanted to go over this particular blog that I've found at a particular website called EMF Warriors. So let's get to it. I'm not going to spoil anything until the very end. So as we read here, it says, as each EMF warrior becomes more empowered with the knowledge and the details around EMFs, which are electromagnetic fields and frequencies, we are directly confronted with a moral choice. We can bury our heads in the sand and believe there is nothing wrong with our use of NN-EMFs, or instead, be our own type of Clark Kents for the rest of humanity. Well, if you look up what NN-EMFs are, those are non-native electromagnetic fields and frequencies. These are stuff that we create as humans on the planet, not the natural stuff, not the natural EMFs. Like, for instance, the Schumann resonance is what the Earth produces. It's like a 7.83 hertz that comes off the Earth, and we're acclimated to it as humans. But this NN EMFs are other things. So let's read about what this is all about here. The knowledge in this realm is arguably more powerful than physical strength. How we act and respond to it could be paramount for society to save itself in the future. Sounds pretty serious, but it's for our world. Let's keep reading on here. On the surface, it sounds a bit fantastical, a sci-fi movie plot, and larger than life. Then we have the ability to save other lives. This is why the character Superman draws many parallels. An extremely powerful boy from another planet is adopted by more fragile parents on a world known as Earth. Obviously, we know this about Superman. Over time, Clark realizes the humanity for his parents and sees the good in them. This goodness rubs off on Superman himself. Clark understands good and evil is built into humans, and often the greatest enemies hold personal paradigms about society's design that creates ample conflict. All right. Ultimately, Clark must choose to stay around the people he loves in a remote part of the world, or do something greater to help all of humanity. He understands that there is more at stake than just the lives of the people around him. He can protect them just fine, but in doing so would let Earth fall apart in the process, and this would eventually come back to harm the people he cares about. Clark knows the dilemma and challenges himself to test his limits of strength and powers. Okay, so EMF Warriors is saying that they are super people. Instead of testing our physical strength, we grow our mental strength and test the mental limits continuously. We are confronted with the uncomfortable fact that paradigm shifts are often needed in society, with our friends and family, and within ourselves at times. Unconnected and independent information is not very useful alone, but it becomes a stepping stone toward the application of knowledge to build wisdom. Humans did not craft the natural laws of the universe. We did not design the electromagnetic force, but we sure can alter and manipulate EMFs for a new kind of kryptonite that affects humans, Kryptonians, and all of life for that matter, as E equals mc squared. Energy and light are an equivalent to mass, are they not? Of course, that's what Einstein's theory is saying there. When a person made of matter trespasses on our properties, or a baseball breaks a window, we have laws to protect the property or those harmed by others. But if light and energy are equivalent to mass, why do these forces get a free pass when our land is radiated? So are we saying here that energy and light is radiating us from man-made electromagnetic fields and forces? So, whoa, yeah, let's read on. Einstein once said, imagination is more important than knowledge, for knowledge is limited, whereas imagination embraces the entire world, stimulating progress, giving birth to evolution. Okay, I can assert that popular culture's insertion of imagination upon the issue of EMFs paints it as science fiction. Okay, so EMFs are part of the natural laws of the universe, and they're actually like scientific observation rather than science fiction. Got it? Could the bearing and omission of the actual scientific knowledge put writers in a position to make sense of the energy systems within the living due to a world over-focused on biochemistry and reductionist thinking? It takes private investigators and investigative reporters to dig deeper into the scientific literature to acquire a great understanding of the biophysics and the electromagnetic spectrum. Only then, real scientific observations can be more accurately discerned from science fiction. This disconnect provokes several questions. Has the science been hidden to the public on purpose? Have books and screenplay writers substituted magic and creative mechanisms into their plots because they were never taught any biophysics and light mechanics? Yeah, makes sense. Have past writers had their works culled or rejected when EMFs are written into their stories and plots? All right, let's continue on here. At this time in the early 21st century, it's safe to assume the broad swath of humanity does not understand the details behind the electromagnetic spectrum and how we use it. It's magical to most people, and they do not question it in their daily lives, even though they use and depend on their technologies. The use of their modern magic typically wows them. And the largest irony is that our modern civilization and energy infrastructure has built itself upon non-native EMFs. While just a fractional sliver of the population understands how mobile phones or car radios function to relate the details about the frequencies, waveforms, and modulation. I would be impressed if even one person could replicate a radio or phone if they were dropped onto a tropical island. Sorry in advance if I just got you thinking about the professor on Gilligan's Island or an episode of MacGyver. As you can see, the public would rather not know how it works to keep it magical. A larger proportion of the population understands the general concept, how the technology works, but public knowledge stops short letting imagination to fill in the blanks. Imagination does have its place. However, the lack of specific knowledge sets can also limit imagination's jumping points. In a republic or democracy where votes matter, what if the majority simply lacks a large chunk of knowledge for their health, but only a small chunk of the population is in the know? It's not a logical path for humanity of haves and have-nots. I want the next generations to have access to the knowledge and observations that paints a closer truth, rather than living within a perceived science fiction universe. I want our role models to be humans. If I can't find a human, I would even take a Kryptonian rather than the artificial role models being pushed upon us at this time. So, what we're really saying here is, like, I'm interpreting this as this is an ancient war of electromagnetic fields and frequencies all around us that we're using on a daily basis as humans. I mean, it goes back to the times of Tesla and Edison. Like, when Edison was pushing his DC systems, which is a little ironic, right? DC. um, he was pushing his DC systems, and Tesla won out with AC. So how marvelous would it be if the world was on DC power instead of AC? How would that change the non-native EMFs in our world? And especially with all the wireless stuff that we have today that we are completely being saturated in. Now you know. This is a video about that type of power. And it's right in front of us for everyone to know. All right. This has been, of all people, Mr. Spock talking to you. And I wrote this blog for everyone to understand, to comprehend, to know, to wake the world up. Good luck.